And then let's begin with a word of prayer. Father, we sometimes really don't understand what your goals are, your plans are, the details of your will. We're thankful that although the Jews rejected your Son, you came to the Gentiles and brought us the life-giving word of salvation. We thank you that this was a gift to us, and we pray that we live according to your will as you would have us live in all the times we can. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, we're going to be in a place called Zarephath. Okay, I'm going to show it to you where it is. It's way over here on the coast.
Okay, let me get this up there. Sorry.
And that's just to set this up. It's here. There's the Sea of Galilee. Okay? So, but today begins with Jesus down in Capernaum, or Capernaum if you prefer. And so, Jesus is here at the Sea of Galilee, and he's going to travel way up here into Phoenicia. Okay? And to read about this, and it's the summer of 29 AD, let's go to the Gospel of Mark. The 7th chapter, beginning with verse 24.
Verse 24.
Correct.
Okay.
24 through 30.
Want me to read it?
Sure, nice and slow.
Okay. From there he set out and went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know he was there, yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin, and she begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." And then he said to her, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." So she went home and found the child lying on the bed and the demon gone.
Whoa, sounds a little odd, doesn't it? We've heard the story before, so what do you think? What leaps out at you?
Well, for one, Jesus telling her, comparing her to someone who was undeserving of his support. "I'm not here for you."
Yeah.
And of course, then he healed her.
Called her a dog, huh?
Yeah, well, but
Compared her to
right.
a dog, okay.
But in my mind, he was trying to make a point, probably among the people that were around him.
Okay.
And he did, in fact, treat her mercifully, which is probably, what we would expect.
Eventually.
Yeah.
They sure sounded kind of mean for a while there, didn't
Yeah.
they? Anything else that's striking you? Any detail here that's of interest?
Well, it's a little bit different in my version here.
It would be.
Starts up, he left Galilee, went to the region of Tyre. He didn't want anyone to know which house he was staying in, but couldn't keep it a secret. And then, of course, she comes. And it just dawned on me, they never tell you, who's he visiting? Obviously, he knows somebody that lives up there.
I agree.
And that's way out of
That's
the normal...
a long distance away.
Yeah.
But he also didn't want to be mobbed, no doubt.
Why would there be a mob way up there? This is way up in Gentile turf.
Free healing of anything. If
you got
people
up there
knew
and
they're
started
going to be
healing,
there.
they're going to mob him.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't yet started that, there should be no...
This lady knew.
What did she know?
She knew that she should come to him and ask for healing. For her
She knew
daughter.
that, did she? Okay.
Well, why else would she be there and asking?
Agreed. Okay. Anything else? Any other part of this that strikes you?
Well, it would require a certain amount of faith because she did not bring the daughter with her.
Yes. Good.
That's pretty big to me.
That's big to me too. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a faith issue here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the girl could not be brought to him. Okay.
It's weird.
She must have been pretty ill or controlled by this demon, whatever it was.
Or the mother was not near home, heard about him, and we'll all stop in there.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe she suddenly heard it and showed up. He was there and she said, oh, I'm not going to pass this opportunity.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's just curious. You know? And anything else there?
Clearly she was not Jewish.
Clearly, she was a Syrophoenician. She was a Gentile, a non-Jew. Period. That's important. He's in a foreign country here. This is Phoenicia. This is not where he's been before. And this Gentile approaches him for help. Interesting. Why would she do this? She must have been darn desperate.
Well, if it were your kid, would you?
No, I'd stand in. Well, you know, they're more susceptible to women and crying and stuff. Anything else strike you?
Well, what woman would ever take their children's food and throw it to the dogs? That's crazy.
Well, that wasn't what he was saying here.
That isn't what
Isn't
it
it?
said. That's what it said.
Well,
in
the
mine.
way, well, so it's not a literal explanation. It's, you know, first I need to take care of the Jewish kids.
Yeah, he's doing an analogy.
Yes.
Okay, we'll assume it's an analogy.
No.
What's an analogy?
It's where you get the point by using other terms and things. And
Okay.
Comparing
So
unlike,
the dog issue here is the other term, which is to be parallel to the term you're really talking about. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, kind of.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand what whatever that is, an analogy. Okay, it's not a simile or a participle or whatever they call it. I don't know any of these. You know, I'm not an English major. Okay, anything else strike you here? Okay, in that case, let's go to the Gospel of Matthew. Chapter 15, verses 21 through 28.
Skinny pages.
Thank you.
What was the verse again?
Chapter 15, starting at verse 21, going through 28.
Well, I'll take it.
Okay.
Then Jesus left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Gentile woman who lived there came to him pleading, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, for my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely." But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. Then his disciples urged him to send her away. "Tell her to go away," they said. "She's bothering us with all her begging." Then Jesus said to the woman, "I was sent only to help God's lost sheep, the people of Israel." But she came and worshipped him, pleading again, "Lord, help me." Jesus responded, "It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs." She replied, "That's true, Lord, but even dogs are allowed to eat the scraps that fall beneath their master's table." "Dear woman," Jesus said to her, "your faith is great. Your request is granted. And her daughter was instantly healed.
Okay. Matthew has changed it. What do you see here that you didn't see in Mark? And by the way, it's not in Luke at all. It's just in Matthew.
Well, the disciples are here being gatekeepers again.
Yes, they are.
Well, and here, a more familiar named Canaanite woman in my text.
Correct. And that's the actual best quote for it. A Canaanite. This is the land of Canaan. So, well, actually it's not. This is now in Phoenicia. Canaan was the land of what we now call Israel. So she was a person, apparently, who had left Canaan and moved up to the region of Tyre and Sidon. Okay? But that doesn't mean she's a Jew. She's a Gentile still. But because she's a Canaanite. Those are the people of the land. So she moved up out of Canaan up to Tyre, Sidon. Okay, good. Anything else?
Well, so maybe she still had family back in the old country
Yeah, the old cut.
who had heard of Jesus and had somehow or other told her about him, and then...
Wow, let's not make that quite a strong assumption. Even if her people, those Canaanites in the land, had heard about Jesus and some of what he did, communication is not really that good, such that they would be necessarily know enough to tell her, because they didn't know Jesus was even coming there.
Oh, no, but maybe at some
But
point...
maybe
they
she got
had
a rumor about it.
Yeah, they had...
Yeah.
She'd come back to visit, she heard about this guy,
Good.
and then, oh, hey,
Oh,
I think
whoa,
I heard
here he
he's
is.
in town. He's
Okay,
in town.
oh, it's a possibility.
Then when you start in 23, the disciples saying to Jesus to send her away. She's shouting after us.
I don't think that's
Um,
organized.
Say again, what's up?
Well, that's what I was thinking too. The disciples shouldn't have been telling them to send her away, telling Jesus to send her away.
What is the job of the disciples here then? Let's get that out. He's in some kind of home with a courtyard probably, and the disciples are going to do what?
They're the gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers. They're going to be out there between him and the outsiders to handle anything that's happening out there. And this woman apparently comes and she calls out to him. He didn't answer her. He just walked right into the building. And she keeps hassling them apparently. The disciples are saying, "Shut up, woman," or something like that. And they finally get so tired of listening to her, they go in and talk to Jesus.
So,
Is that what it sort of sounds like?
Yeah.
so have you ever been where there is a persistent beggar? What comes to mind for me is in Africa. We go into a restaurant to eat and there's kids, teenagers, maybe middle school age, what we would call middle school agers, around the door, and they're talking to us inside while we're trying to eat. "Please, mister, give me delicious food."
Oh my,
Oh,
seriously?
Oh yeah.
Hunger is
And-
still that vital down there.
Well, so it's a very poor country, and a lot of the people live by begging.
Wow.
And but after a while, it gets to the point where you can't even eat.
Interesting. So the guilt starts getting to you, and you might as well give them the food then, right?
That's about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean
Good.
that's their goal.
Of course it is. And
So-
they're very good at it, right?
So yeah, they are. And so, but the deal is, with this, probably same thing. They keep hearing people begging for Jesus' help. Heal me, heal me. I'm a poor man. Fix my wallet, right?
Yeah, I like that. The government won't do it at the moment. But to get to that point, you have to have, somehow she's identified him, or he's been there so long doing things that she has been attracted, and the others are there too, and they must have been doing the same thing. But somehow there's this recognition that there's some authority here, right? And she keeps hammering them. Maybe others aren't doing that, or maybe there aren't any others. I don't know. It's going to be
And
curious.
one could speculate by her physical appearance. They also knew she wasn't a Jew because she probably didn't dress like one.
I'm sure she didn't dress like
Did
one.
not
She was
appear
a
to be.
Canaanite.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And maybe just the fact that she's apparently a lone woman coming, you know.
That's true.
While it doesn't say she's
No.
a widow or anything, we can assume there is some connection there. She doesn't seem to be all that, maybe she's poor, I don't know. Interesting,
But
yeah.
remember, as far as the disciples, I mean, they didn't want the kids coming around either.
Later.
Get these brats out of here now.
Yeah.
Don't hassle him. I think it's a kind of a persistent thing here, and that's going to be interesting. Okay, anything else in here that Matthew has done to enlighten us about this situation?
Well, one of the things, she came and knelt before him.
Yeah, please don't use worship. That's terrible. But she did kneel before
So-
him. Oh,
so-
right.
In those days, you know, you would kneel before a ruler, a leader, your boss,
Anybody
right?
of a higher rank than you.
Right.
Right.
And so in Africa today, I'm going back to Malawi again,
Good.
the women will not approach a man unless they're lower than the man is.
You mean their head lower?
I mean, when they bring food to their husband, they're on their knees, literally, not figuratively.
Literally.
Literally, they crawl to their husband on their knees to serve him food.
Oh, my.
That's Malawi. That's in the villages now, not in
Sure, I
town.
understand. Okay.
But when they
I like it.
so we had a ceremony when we first came into Amy's village,
Uh-huh.
and so we had the chief there, and the chief happened to be the chief above 7 other villages, so they had 7 other chiefs there.
Oh my.
And so like a big ceremony to meet the chief, to meet the village, right?
Sure, uh-huh.
And of course, we're seated in the seats of honor, you know, because we're white.
Right.
And these women come in carrying a gift, because they have to bring you a gift, and it
Okay.
happened to be about, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds of bananas.
Darn, I was home for a goat. Okay.
But they come carrying this in and singing and all of that. And when they present it to you, of course, they're bowing down, and I immediately, being an American, I lower myself, and guess
I
what?
just
Now,
said go
now
lower.
they have to get to the ground.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
but so.
That's what you're
but that
visualizing.
But that culture,
Right.
I can see the same thing here.
Yeah, I
She's
can
on
too.
her knees as a sign of respect.
And more so, she's actually asking for something. She's a supplicant.
Yes,
And for that, you know you're lower than whoever it is you're coming to. You've got to be to the bottom. And she went right to the ground in front of him when she finally did get to him. Wow. I didn't know
Our
about...
people nowadays think they're way above her. He would.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not get into too many modern times here. That's fascinating. Anything else you see here?
We need to pray for that country too, Lord.
yes.
And a lot of others too. Anything else here strike you? No?
She's quick-witted.
Yes. Oh, what? She is. She's determined too. Yeah, she's not going to be put off. You embarrass me all you want. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm a mother. Right. I'm a mother and I've got concerns here.
So I just want a couple of crumbs here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Notice she called him by a title.
Mm-hmm.
She called him Son of David. That was not in Mark. Okay? We don't want to skip little details like this. So she knew not necessarily who he was, but what he was. Okay?
Yeah,
He is a
my
descendant.
translation said she just called him Lord. But,
That would be like Sir.
yeah,
But to go, Sir, prophet of God, you know something.
yeah,
She knew he could heal because she
yeah.
heard all that.
Somehow she knew what he was.
Oh, okay, yeah, earlier though, it does say, have mercy
There you
on
go.
me, Lord,
Lord,
Son of
Son
David.
of David.
Okay,
So there's more information here than we had in the Gospel of Mark. And it doesn't tell us this in the Gospel of Mark. The next statement is Jesus walked on in, didn't even say a thing to her, didn't even acknowledge her.
I wonder how
sounds
much
like-
of Jesus' actions were designed to get the attention of the apostles.
Always. There's a lesson in for the disciples, always, in my opinion. But there's also something important here beyond that we're going to encounter. Something specifically to her. Remember, Jesus knows people, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And when he first met a certain disciple, he says, I know you. I saw you when? That was Philip.
Yeah, under the tree.
Now he looks at her, and of course, Peter, I'm going to call you Rocky. So now he looks at her, and he knows her enough, that he's choosing not to respond initially.
And
why? Why would he choose to do that? What is he calling from her? What does he want from her?
maybe for her to elaborate, to be more persistent. I don't know.
To be more persistent, I would agree with. If she's serious, she's going to keep it up. And this is going to teach the disciples a lesson.
So there's one other thing that got my attention here.
What's that?
And just the fact that he said, "Woman, great is your faith." How many times in our scripture do we see Jesus commenting on the faith of someone who would not be expected to have that faith?
More often than one would have expected.
Yes.
Yes.
He never seems to do it with the Jews.
Because the Jews don't have the faith.
Yeah.
Remember when he was in Nazareth? No one believed him that week he was there ahead of time, enough that he could do anything. You know? So, yeah, again, everything's going to come back to faith. Always does. Okay, good. Excellent. That's a really good one. Okay, anything else? What is his mission? Here it tells us, that didn't tell us in Mark. What is Jesus' mission? What did God tell him to do?
Be good.
What?
Just to be good.
Nope.
No? Okay. What?
It tells us very specifically, I was sent only, doesn't it say that? I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. His mission is to the Jews.
Not just the Jews who are led astray.
Yeah. His mission is more. It's going to be to the leaders of the Jews. He's going to confront them and say, you need to change your ways. This is what he did in the last week. Okay? You need to change your ways and become the light to the world that you were supposed to be. That's his mission. We see it later. It's not told us here. We just know that it's to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That is his goal. So, if anything else stands in the way, no, I wasn't sent to you. Okay? That should be noticed. Okay? So he ignores her. And then finally, when she gets to talk to him, he says, look, I wasn't sent to take care of you. That would be like throwing pearl before the swine, or giving the children's food to the dogs. First, I am here. Let's see, it says,
24.
Yeah, thank you. So, he sees himself as being sent to the Jews and not to anybody else. And that's when her faith and her intelligence and her quick-wittedness comes into play. Okay? Anything else here strike you? Okay, there's some not so perfect translations here, and that's okay, we'll correct that now. If you're done, is there anything else you see? Okay, then let's go on and take a look at this. First thing is, I've got to show you where they are. And I'll point it out here. Jesus is in Capernaum. Then he either travels south around the hills up to Akko, or goes up here and then crosses the hills, the mountains here, up past Safat, and travels across to Akko. Either way, he's leaving his country and going into the country of the Phoenicians. There are many miles involved here, and that is, how many, 10, 50, what do we got here? 10 miles, okay? So let's put this together, 10 miles. 10, 20, 30, 40 miles just to get to Aachen. But that's not where he's going. Apparently he's been invited somewhere else. So we'll take that 10 and we'll go 50, 60, 70 just to get to Tyre. And then he's going to go beyond that, 70, 80. He's headed for Sidon at 90 miles away. Now that's a fair walk. Okay? And the region of Tyre and Sidon is that area where they are between them. So he knows he's somewhere in between Tyre and Sidon.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, all of this, at least at one time, was Israel's territory, correct?
No, never.
I thought they went all the way to the Mediterranean.
They did down here, but not up here.
Oh,
They were
okay.
cut up by the hills and they were coming this way, up toward Damascus.
Okay.
They never controlled that area.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so I just want you to understand, he's traveled 80 miles by the time he gets to this place where he's visiting. Okay, approximately, depending which road he took. So, with that in mind, let's look at it. Jesus was now 33 years old, and he now began a very different journey. Jesus left Galilee and entered into a foreign country. He went to the region of Tyre and Sidon in Gentile Phoenicia to a small town called Zarephath. I'm going to tell you, you should remember that. Why? Because something else happened there from the Old Testament at a woman at Zarephath. So that's why he's there. Remember, he does things, in my opinion, he does things in places where it recalls a God's action in that place to help the people there come to faith. He's in Zarephath. It doesn't say it there. You didn't read it in Mark or Matthew. But that's where he is, in the region of Tyre and Sidon. And you'll see why. Okay? He did not go to do a lot of public speaking. His mission was to the Jews. Jesus had received an invitation from some Jews in the town to come and teach. That's my interpretation. When Jesus and some of his disciples arrived, they were invited to stay in the house of a Jew, of course. Comes as no surprise. So there was a small, we'll call them a diaspora, a small group of Jews living in this area. They'd heard about Jesus. They invited him to come up. However that contact was made, Jesus apparently agreed to do that. To leave and go into this Gentile country all the way up to Zarephath. To meet in a small house. And he doesn't want to get involved with the Gentiles. He's not going to get up on a podium like Paul would have done and start talking to them. He's just there for the Jews in that small community. Any question, thought, or comment? On the Sabbath, as was his custom, he visited the small synagogue. Where the Jews are going to gather, they're going to have a small synagogue. Okay? But when he returned to the house and entered the courtyard, a local Gentile woman yelled to him, get this, "Prophet of the Jewish God, pity me." Jesus entered in the house without acknowledging her. Outside, she kept calling loudly, "Prophet, help me!" Do you see it? Is that what is said in the Gospels?
Not
Basically.
explicitly, but
Basically.
yeah.
Okay. Any thought or question about this? The way I put it. Notice, she's a Gentile. Notice what I suggest she calls him. Prophet of the Jewish God. Not her God. She's going to acknowledge that he is a prophet? Whoa, how did she find that out? Of the Jewish God. Okay, here we go then.
Well, clearly she would not have come to him if she did not have some knowledge.
Correct. Or something attracted her at a point, gave her hope. And that's where she's coming from, a position of hope. Okay? Why did she call Jesus a prophet? First, he came with disciples. Therefore, he was at least a rabbi. He's a teacher. At the very least, he's to be respected. Okay? Now, that doesn't make him a prophet, just the fact that he has disciples. But he's at least an important Jew. Okay? Then two, she had heard rumor of a new prophet in Israel. There's her family back there, or whatever contact it is, from her Jewish friends, in town even. Some of the Jews there may well have talked to her. They've met her before. She's been cleaning. They've cleaned clothes together, down at the wash, whatever it is. They market together. They've met her. She met them. She apparently got along with them. Some Jews there. And through them, they heard of a prophet in Israel.
Can you explain what prophet? Tell me exactly.
That's harder to do. What is a prophet?
Right.
A prophet is one who represents God.
Right.
I'm going to leave it right there.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Each prophet is different. There, as you'll see in a moment. There's a specific one. Is this one acts under the authority of the Jewish God.
If you look at the Old Testament, the majority of the prophets are warning people to change their ways.
And what
Because
was
something
Jesus'
bad
mission?
is coming.
And what was Jesus' mission, now that we know? It was to warn the Jewish leaders that trouble was coming if they didn't change. He's a prophet. We know he's a prophet because when you look back, what he said was true. Isn't that the hard way to do it? You know,
Yeah.
but
It's true.
until you know what he said was true, you don't really know he's a prophet. It's always a way of looking back. But most people would say, look, I heard he healed people. Therefore, if he's acting on the behalf of the Jewish God, he must be a prophet. That's the way you should have figured
Well,
this
and there are
out.
many stories about prophets doing such things.
Correct. This one is, well, you'll find out in a minute.
So another thing that got me about this too is the way she approached Jesus. If you approach someone and you want something, how do you do it? It's not unusual to say, we're going to flatter them a little bit,
Yes,
right?
good point.
To get my way.
Yes,
And
I agree
and
with
so she did maybe use flattery or what she thought was flattery, not knowing who Jesus really was.
right. He may have only been a rabbi,
Yeah.
but she wants to believe. That's why point 3. She hoped that this man was a prophet. A prophet who would have the authority of the Jewish God and would be able to heal her daughter. This is hope at the moment. She's going to grow. And that's part of the story. She's going to grow. Anything else strike you before I move on? Okay. Her life was a wreck because her daughter was demon-possessed. All right, let's look at that for a moment. Demon-possessed. Today, we don't believe in such things, right? In those days, almost every disease was caused by an external force. We call them germs or whatever, bacteria, virus, at the very least. Or their life was miserable because of an external thing.
But when I think of demon-possessed, I think of mental illness, not physical.
Good, I agree with you. That's where I was just going to go. Okay, but remember, physical illness was a result of the same thing. Remember the man who was possessed by legion? Okay, that was more physical as well. Okay, so here what we have is a girl at home, whatever her age, who is psychologically out of control. Okay, we'll call it that. And her mother has tried everything that is appropriate for a local mother to do. Okay? She had done everything she could to help her daughter, but nothing had worked. Okay, she went to the physician, if she could afford it, and asked what can do. She talked to her, whatever priests she was involved in up there. She did all the things that she could locally to help her daughter. Am I wrong?
Probably.
Thank you.
Probably not.
Probably. Throw that knot a little quicker next time.
Yeah, well, I mean, what person wouldn't try to take care of their child?
Thank you. And that's, if she didn't want to take care of her child, she would have just cast her out and let her die. She wanted her daughter healed, and she put her own pride on the line. She'd done everything she could up till that point, and now she was desperate. Not even Baal, the god of Tyre, had helped. She tried that religion too. Okay? She was desperate to help her daughter, but she felt totally helpless. Is that not a familiar feeling? Yeah, moms go, you bet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've all felt that. I do everything I can and it hasn't worked. And you feel desperate. Thoughts, comments, questions? Here we go then. Once before in Zarephath, a prophet of the Jewish God had visited. When Elijah had come during a 3-year-long drought, a local Gentile woman and her husband had given him shelter. When their son went into respiratory arrest, Elijah had brought him back from death's doorstep. Do you remember the story?
Mm-hmm.
Just in case you don't, here it is. In 1 Kings 17 to 24. Skipping about halfway down. O Lord, see. Then he took him from her bosom, the son, put my son to death, that kind of thing. Give me your son. And he took from her bosom and carried him to the upper room where he was living and laid him on his own bed. He called the Lord and said, Lada, lada, lada. Then he stretched himself out on the child 3 times and called the Lord, oh Lord my God, I pray you, bring him back to life. And he did. This had been done here by the Jewish God and his prophet. Why did she call him a prophet? She hoped he was a prophet of the Jewish God who could do what Elijah had done. Now you begin to understand more fully what she perceived. Okay? Any question, thought, or comment?
Just a comment that if she really knew who Jesus was, she would realize that he could have given Elijah lessons.
I don't think she was ready for that. But God had acted before, the Jewish God had once before acted here on behalf of a non-Jew. This gives her hope. Now it moves from hope even to faith, where she believed he could do it. Prophet of the Jewish God, help me. Now here in front of her was another representative of the Jewish God. Here was maybe her last chance to get her daughter healed. He would certainly be able to help. He must help. You can hear her telling herself that. He's got to. This is my last chance. I will not quit asking until he agrees to do something, she decided. Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not leaving. I'm going to make sure he notices, because it's my daughter's last chance.
So later on, or maybe it was earlier, but Jesus' own words, ask God and keep begging.
Yeah, that'll
Right.
come later. But
But,
yeah,
but the point is, that's what he says, you wanna get something done, don't give anybody any rest till it's done,
that's
right?
right. That's absolutely correct. So this is part of the lesson he is teaching the disciples. Okay? But they're not ready to hear that yet. They're living in the situation at the time, which is this woman. Again and again she pleaded loudly with the disciples to let her meet with the prophet. Finally, she wore them down, and a disciple went to Jesus and told him about the loud woman who asked him to help her. And he asked him to help her, if only to get rid of her. God, Lord, she just keeps at it. Question, thought, or comment? I don't blame the disciple. Oh, Lord, just meet with her, so shut her up. Persistence.
It's a good thing she kept hollering, so.
Yeah, she was not going to quit. She knew here was the last chance for her daughter, and this Jewish God would help her. This prophet could help her. Dog nabbit, I'm going to keep going at this. And the disciples are going, shut up. Just go away. Shut up. Yeah.
She wasn't gonna do it.
Thank you. Persistence. Here was a chance for the salvation of her daughter, and she was not going to back off. That's a message to the disciples. It's a message to us. Right?
Right, keep praying and praying.
That's right. Just keep hammering at God, if nothing else. Just be aware of that concept, and we'll come back to it. Jesus smiled at his disciples' discomfort. I would. I couldn't help it. I should go, yeah, all right, whatever. I'm sorry, that's for me. And reminded the disciple that his mission was to the Jews, not the Gentiles. I'm not here for her. I'm here for the Jews. I'm just seeing him smiling. You know, they've hammered her. She's hammered them and hammered them and hammered them. And even now they're asking him to go meet with her. And he says, well, look, you know I'm here for the Jews, not for the Gentiles, right? Shut up, Lord. Just go. Jesus, go take care of this. We're tired of listening. Can you hear all that now? Can you see how this situation was? Mine did a bit. Okay. I know, said the disciple, but she won't stop or go away. We've told her to go away. She won't even do that. So Jesus got up and went out into the courtyard. That's sometimes what our prayers are like, aren't they? We just keep going until the Lord answers in some fashion. Question, thought, or comment? Okay. The disciples led the woman into the courtyard. She came up to Jesus and knelt in front of him as a supplicant. She explained the situation with her tormented daughter and pleaded for him to heal her daughter. And Jesus responded, be patient. First, I must confront Israel. Permit the children of Israel to be satisfied first. As it is said among the Jews, do not give the children's food to the dogs. Be patient. It would not be appropriate to take care of you first. Come on, that's got to excite you. What is he doing? What is he doing?
Testing her.
Thank you.
Not
He is-
just her. He's got
Correct.
disciples around
We'll
him.
start with her. He is pushing her as far as he can push her to see how her response will be. He is telling the disciples at the same time, patience, patience, patience. Keep at it. Keep going. Keep with it. Keep working. Good messages. She didn't want to hear that. And she was not going to be put off. She's a very smart woman. She's really an incredible woman. Very daring, courageous. I have great respect for this woman. And I don't even have her name. But she was desperate. To wait for the Jews to change would take forever. Am I correct? And she would have known that. Okay? Jews were not ones to change easily, as Jesus found out later. Okay? Her daughter needed help now. So she said, "You are correct, sir," she responded. "But help me anyway. Because even the household puppy under the table is permitted to eat what the children ignore." And that's a proper translation of that word. In this case, she converts it to puppy. Now, listen to what's said. Do you hear what she said? The Jews are never going to change in time to help my daughter. I need help now. So I'll tell you what, they're ignoring you, and it's like the crumbs falling from the table. The puppy's allowed to have it.
Don't let it go to waste.
Don't let it go to waste. I'm only a puppy. Please help my daughter. And it's what is ignored. The Jews will ignore the message of Jesus. A year later, he'll be dead. Okay? And raised. Okay? She can't wait that long. It's got to be done. This woman is incredible. She now has faith. She has hope. She has desire. She's really after this. And she's smart and quick and ready to actually answer it, regardless of the humility involved. He was humbling her. Woman, you're a dog, according to Jewish word. You're nobody. I'm not here for you. And she comes out with a brilliant response. Yes, Lord, you're right. But even the puppies under the table can have what the children drop. That's brilliant. Question, thought, or comment? Jesus stopped. He thought, and he looked at her, and he smiled. You are right. You have more faith than the Jews. As of now, your daughter is well. And it was so. Again, the prophet of the Jewish God had brought the power of God to the foreigners, the Gentiles, the non-Jews who had faith. Thoughts, questions, comments?
I wonder if Paul actually had heard some of these stories about how Jesus interacted with Gentiles, and he said, you know what? Here's my pattern. This is in his will.
No, Paul never listened to anything before. Didn't know any of the stories. Yes, I'm sure Paul knew it. It was being written up already as people were telling these stories around. I'm sure he heard how Jesus went to the Gentiles. And this whole tour that Jesus is taking here the next couple of days is going to be among the Gentiles, as you will see. Okay? This is really a message to the church about the Gentiles. Anything else strike you? Is she not an impressive person? Men would go, well, heck with you. I'm not going to humble myself. You help her or not at your discretion. Right? Men are a little more egotistical about that. Women can get desperate to help their offspring.
So the men wouldn't want to help their daughter like that?
No, it's just a daughter. In that culture, relax. At that time, women were less important.
Yeah.
Okay? I understand that a woman and her daughter, and especially if it was her only daughter, that would be something. But we don't know that. But there was a special connection between this mother and the daughter, such that she would be willing to put herself at the feet of a foreigner and beg his assistance as a last-ditch effort to help this child of hers.
Now, there was when the dad come when there was the little girl that was sick. Yeah, the 12-year-old girl.
That'll be later, and that'll be with Philip. So, yeah, that's not with Jesus. But this is the same kind of thing.
No, that was the
That was the-
12-year-old daughter at the same time as the woman who had the...
Oh, the woman, that's right.
You're talking
Yeah.
about the
Flow of blood.
centurion.
That's
Yeah.
the centurion.
So,
And again-
yeah, so he had done it that way, and I think it was the dad that came that
Well,
It
way.
was.
Still.
But
He was the
in
centurion, but that
any
was different.
culture, there are cases where the father is absolutely invested in the daughter, no
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely. But
But-
in that case, the centurion was not there begging.
Yeah.
He was there asking. He was a much equal or much different basis. Go ahead. You were saying?
Oh, I just was gonna say that regardless of whether it's a daughter or son, the results here, clearly the disciples did not have empathy or at least sympathy for this lady,
Not
and
even.
and Jesus did.
Yes.
I mean, that's a
Yes.
lesson for us all.
It is, okay? Also done in a place where another prophet had been of God. Here is God acting for the future once the Jews have rejected him, which he can't be sure of that yet. He hasn't gone and challenged them yet at the temple. That'll be what he'll do this
But
coming
he
year.
knows,
What?
he knows,
He suspects,
yeah,
but he has to give them a chance.
yeah.
But he's showing his people, the role, what will happen when the Jews do reject his request from the Father. That is, you're going to have a Gentile mission. Paul picks this up and executes it. Going to the Gentiles, because the dogs refuse the children's food. So the crumbs could go to the puppies. Oh, you misunderstood. Did I say that? The Jews will reject him, so
Yeah,
his message will go to the
yeah,
Gentiles.
We'll go to the...
Gentiles, the puppies. Okay? Those who were willing to listen. Loved by the family. Loved by God. Okay? Next time we get together then, he's going to feed the Gentiles.